Yeah, no. So, honestly, kind of want to get back to basics on this cocktail. I think that we have the tendency, especially in like this day and age, to overcomplicate when it comes to drinks. And so this is really at its heart, it's a sour. Like that's all it is. But we wanted to have as much fun with those components as possible in order to really showcase the Waterloo Prickly Pear Gin. The prickly pear and rose notes come together in a really spectacular way. And when I first tasted it, it reminded me a lot of rose water. So when I started bartending more seriously, I worked for a Persian chef, and rose water went into a couple different dishes, and it was always one of these things where that aromatic always kind of screamed Persian cuisine to me. And so when I got the opportunity to work with this gin, my first thought was, okay, how can I encapsulate the flavors of Persia in a cocktail? One of the other components that goes into Persian culture is tea. Traditionally, they drink a lot of Assam tea, but there was also a strong reverence for white teas. And so what I did is I sourced a tea from the Yunnan province in China. It is going to be called silver needle, and it was traditionally used as medicine. So I steeped the tea with that and then black lime. Black lime is also used traditionally in Persian cuisine. It is a fermented lime that they then treat like a bay leaf, so they'll throw it into stews, use it to flavor different types of things. And so basically almost made like an Earl Grey out of that because we had the white tea coming together with those bergamot-ish flavors that are coming from the black lime, steeped that, and then I acidified it. So using citric, malic, and ascorbic acids, we created an acid. And then from there, how do you tie it back into the prickly pear? The prickly pear is kind of left out now, right? So what I thought was, okay, what if we sweetened it using agave? So agave is going to be a lesser glycemic response than most other sugars. So whenever you're using regular simple syrup, you're going to get a spike of glucose in the bloodstream. Agave surpasses that because there's a lot of sucrose in there, which takes longer to break down, so it evens out your glycemic response. And then in addition to that, this agave in particular is going to be sourced from 21 different farms around Mexico. Those agaves are going to be wild harvested, and then they're going to come together and they're going to make like a natural sweetener, give a little bit of viscosity, and so you get this nice bright flavor profile. You get the prickly pear, you get the rose, and then it's finished off with a little bit of an infused olive oil, which Sean is going to walk you through.
Hello. So obviously Patrick is mostly the brains here with all those big words. Yeah, so we do the two different infused olive oils. You got the one closest to you. We drop down a few drops of the pomegranate one. So that's going to be a pomegranate powder. We throw it into an olive oil, we sous vide it, and then we're gonna finish it with some pomegranate molasses and kind of like treat it as almost like a fat wash where we'll let it kind of separate, and then we'll pick up using a little dropper, pick up all the olive oil from while the molasses is on the bottom. And then the mint one, we did basically just like a quick blanch of it, just super quick burr mix of it, and then just strain it through a coffee filter. So that's what you'll get. The pomegranate first, kind of really nice little good first sip, and then you'll if you can switch it around and get the other side, you'll get the mint coming through on it.
But yeah, with that, we hope you guys enjoy, and thank you so much for having us. Thank you so much to Speed Railz for hosting this, and Cabana Club for being a wonderful venue for us to be at. So no, thank you so much, guys. Really appreciate you.
When doing your acid adjustment, how did you come to that like ratio of malic acid and ascorbic acid?
So I mostly wanted to replicate lemon juice was kind of the idea behind it. For a sour like this, like you can go lime juice where you're going to go a little bit heavier on the citric acid, but I want a little bit of that malic to kind of tie into, like, I always think of tea going with lemon in particular. So the malic kind of helps to tie into that, and I think it kind of acts a little bit nicer. I tried it a couple different ways with a couple different teas, and the silver needle with the black lime, and then doing closer to a lemon acidification I thought worked best.
Let's see.
Hi, how are you, Patrick? How are you guys? Congrats, delicious drink. One question, just on the, you shake this drink. Why you shake it and not maybe throw it or stir it? Why are you using that one versus the other ones? I mean, since you have tea, and it opens up very well when you throw it. Or I think you said that you're shaking it to aerate it as well. But maybe it's extra dilution, but yeah, I was just curious about what was your thing.
So it's kind of twofold with that. I also really like the idea with the presentation of this cocktail, even between the time that we set it down versus now, the drink has actually started to go transparent. So when we first set it down, like I really didn't want to lose the color of this gin because there's that beautiful pink color to it. And so I felt that if we used like a traditional acid, that it would kind of get lost. It would start to murky it up a little bit. And so instead what I wanted to do is go ahead and go with something that was going to be more of a golden color. So as you shake it, you have all those tiny air bubbles that are in there, and it's going to really throw that color back into a pinkish color. It's going to look almost like a Cosmo when you first set down, but then you get this kind of magic moment of it then clarifies, and now all of a sudden it's transparent. So it was a little bit in terms of presentation, but then also just the additional aeration.
Good job, you guys. It's a lovely drink. I think I had more of a question on the kind of business side of it, right? It does have a lot of kind of like prep. How would you, since you are the bar manager, how does this look going kind of on your bar menu, incorporating, the time it takes to prep and the ingredients and the costing of it?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, the main cost that goes into it, like citric acid, malic acid, ascorbic acid, they're actually relatively low in terms of cost, and then you also have the stability factor of them. Once this is acidified, we have about 2 weeks on it before it's going to start to really degrade in flavor profile. The biggest cost is honestly just sourcing good quality tea, which everybody's familiar with. But as long as you're buying in bulk, you can kind of negate some of that expense, especially compared to like the spikes that we see throughout the year with fresh lemon and fresh lime. So that's one portion to it. Honestly, the acidification really only takes a few minutes. We're doing a traditional steep. It's only about 5 minutes sitting on the tea, and then the water's still hot, and so that'll dissolve the acid super, super well. And so that portion really takes a very small amount of time. The agave comes into us pretty much perfect. The olive oil is kind of the most time-consuming thing, but the nice thing is we can scale up the recipe, and the biggest expense really winds up being the actual cost of the olive oil itself. It's a Sicilian olive oil, and so it has a more neutral flavor compared to a lot of the other olive oils out there, but you get that nice antioxidant boost, and you can still taste the mint over it. If you went with something like some of the more northern climates, you tend to get those really grassy, peppery kind of olive oils. But yeah, honestly, the worst part about it is straining off the oil from the top of the pomegranate molasses with a pipette. I will not lie, that does take a minute.
Yeah. Cool. Thank you.
This cocktail, just hearing you explain it, this isn't stuff they teach us at work. This is some information you got to go out and aggressively find. What is your background, and how did you get to this point of being able to create cocktails to this level of specifications?
Honestly, one of the biggest influences I had was just having a good mentor going into it. I learned from a guy named Zach Sasser, who has worked at a couple like really solid bars. But from there, it's just like really leaning on the different books that have been published so far. So there's a lot of great resources, especially when it comes to tea. There's very specific books you can read about extraction times, temperatures, all that type of thing. And then honestly beyond that, it's just like if you're gonna bother to use the ingredient in a cocktail, like understand the ingredient. So if you're gonna use an olive oil, like why use that olive oil? Like why use mint? Why use whatever? So I think it's just always being curious, and then always looking for the next resource is probably my biggest advice to anybody that wants to get better.
Love that, man. Man, you might have touched on this, but can you touch on really why your cocktail recipe paired well with the prickly pear and rose?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that the prickly pear rose, its strongest suit is that it's appealing to somebody that is not familiar with gin, right? You don't have that aggressive juniper note. You've got some of the citrus that's coming through that's nice and soft, but then you also have the prickly pear and the rose coming through. So it's lighter, it's brighter than a lot of gins that are gonna be in that same category. And it's got something different to it. You've got the pink hue, you've got the rose coming through in a really delicate way without going into that whole perfume territory, which is also a really nice thing. And so honestly, this gin in particular, like I can make this cocktail with other gins, but this is the one that's really going to make it shine at the end of the day because of those softer red fruit notes and then the cleanness of the rose.
And you know, this is Railz Relay. This is a tandem competition. You guys are co-workers. What is the one thing he does that makes you mad?
Oh boy, where do I start? No, I'm just kidding. I mean, I guess we both kind of came from a kitchen background, but I am very big on my mise en place and my organized space. And sometimes Patrick comes in and likes to, make a drink real quick and leave his tins. And that's usually about it, though. But Patrick is definitely a big mentor to me, as he was talking about his mentor. But, I definitely learned a lot of ways from him. So I can only get mad at him so much,
All right, well, thank you guys so much, man. Amazing job. Make some noise for him. Make sure you guys go check them out at Brass Peacock. And what makes this Speed Railz competition so much different in the past is they're going to be making these drinks at their venue so that way you can go try them yourself. For those of you guys watching this later, Now you get a chance to see the process, the creativity process, but also get a chance to go taste it, as well as rate it, because we're going to be working with some software partners called Disco, where they are going to help you locate these speed Railz bartenders, as well as get a chance to deep dive into the menu and rate it yourself.
I thought this cocktail was actually really, really good. I thought it was very well balanced. I thought it was creative. I liked that it was kind of a choose your own adventure. You know, one side had kind of the one flavored, you know, the more pomegranate, and then the other side had the minty drops. And then, you know, the intention of them all melting together. So they, you know, they had a lot of forward thought into like the flavor of it. So I thought it was really good. Very good.
Tell me a little bit about Brass Peacock and what kind of experience you guys like to create for your guests behind the bar.
Yeah, absolutely. So basically, at its heart, Brass Peacock is a cocktail bar, but the entire build out and the theme of it is all centered around 1930s jazz culture. And so we have a live jazz band every night that we're open. And then in addition to that, we do a lot of cocktails that are kind of based in Prohibition classics and then modernizing them.
How is that going to incorporate into the event that y'all are curating?
So it's one of those, we want to showcase, you know, all of our cocktails we're proud of, but especially in this instance, since we got a really unique opportunity to work with Waterloo on this, and then since we got to develop something specifically with kind of a different mindset, it's going to be one of the things where we're going to feature it pretty prevalently. We want to pair some food to it and really kind of explore what you can do with such a unique gin.
How are you guys planning to bring this cocktail to life for your guests over the next 8 weeks?
So honestly, I think one of the things that's really going to set it apart is that it's going to be garnished tableside. When you pick up and move the glass, it's going to be one of those where the olive oil droplets are going to start to kind of merge together, but so that people can try it sort of the same way that the judges tried it. We're actually going to take the dropper bottles to the table, and then we're going to drop each side for you so you can try it with the mint and then try it with the pomegranate. And then as you shift it back and forth, it's going to start to merge into a third garnish. So it's kind of a cool and fun way that you get to experience something like you would see in a cocktail competition, but when you go out to a bar.
Where were y'all's heads at when you first walked up onto the stage? How was that experience like for you guys, since this is the first time y'all are doing something like this?
Honestly, I'd forgotten about how bright the lights are. And so it's one of those things, it does kind of give you the deer in the headlight sensation a little bit. But it's like anything else. You just kind of like lean back into like, what do we do for a living, right? We try to make people feel comfortable and we try to make people feel engaged. And so you just kind of lean on that and try to ignore, you know, the fact that it feels like there's a truck about to hit you.
You try to ignore food.
I agree. Yeah, it was definitely walking up there. It was kind of like, whoa, well, there's a lot of lights and everybody's taking pictures and all this stuff going on. But yeah, it's kind of one of those things where you have to remember that we're bartenders and we're kind of always on stage in a way. So it's like you just got to try to put it in the back of your head.
For sure. I remember my first time competing, it was just like an interjected like speed round, like an activation kind of thing. And I thought the same thing. I was like, oh my gosh, these lights, like how can anybody even see? But then once you get back into the flow, you're like, wait, I do this all the time with people watching. There's just a really bright light in front of me. So, but you guys did so great. I'm, again, super excited to try this cocktail, and I'm sure everybody else is also. And so, yeah, we're excited to see how your event plays out in the next 8 weeks.